Hi everyone! Today we are reviewing Maggie Magoo's Amazing Alphabet. This is a brand new book from the publishers Batsford, who also publish Millie Marotta's books. So it's very similar in sort of size, shape, format, the paper and I wouldn't say the style, because Millie's really famous for her animals that are made up of little segments, whereas this is nothing like that. But I guess the line weight and the paper, obviously it just gives that a similar feel to a Millie Marotta book. So this contains alphabet for you to colour. So there's a couple of each letter. I think there's some numbers and some different punctuation marks and things in there. So we'll get going and have a look. So we have this French flap cover which features some of the letters inside, and obviously with this being the cover, it is a thicker material, so you could, if you wanted to, if you didn't mind ruining your book, cut these out and colour them and, you know, frame them in little display frames, and that would be quite nice actually. But obviously you don't have to do that. You can leave them as they are, you can colour them inside the cover, you can do what you like. So this book is by an artist, an illustrator called Carol Fenwick, and her brand is Maggie Magoo Designs. So there's a little bit of an introduction from her here. She's saying that she has been a surface pattern designer and illustrator for more than 20 years and was delighted to be asked to illustrate this book, which is inspired by a series of decorative alphabet letter prints that she has developed. So the inspiration has gone right back to when she was a teenager, and she picked up a book from the bookstore that was very intricate, and her imagination travelled back through the ages to the book's origins in the 8th century. And that is that's the crux and the inspiration behind everything that came after that. So it's the illuminated letters in the book, the fantastical beasts hidden in sweeping curves and swirls, and that really sort of ignited her passion. So when she was young, she spent a lot of long weekends with her grandma in the countryside, where they would explore the surrounding woodlands and fields, and she was captivated by the nature, the plants and the animals around, and that sort of entangled with her fascination for this ancient lettering and folk art. And then she studied natural history illustration. So really she's embedded in this world of ancient illustration, and also the plants and florals as well from her childhood. So there is a lot of patterns in her work, and you've got symmetry, the symmetry of butterflies, the intricate spirals of a snail shell, and it's beautiful to read actually, just the introduction, and see where all of this inspiration has come from. So thank you very much, Carol, for creating this book. So I'm hoping we've got you on screen. There we are. Of course, we start with A and we go through the alphabet. Now this is the format of the book. On this left-hand side, you will have the letter on its own, surrounded by different foliage and embellishments, and also there is obviously some foliage on the letter. When on the right, we have the letter has been cut out, and all of the foliage and illustration is on the outside. So it's outlined, and you've got just this white letter, and everything else is filled in. So that is how the book goes. So we've got B, as you can see. You've got the letter filled with the foliage, and then you've got the foliage surrounding the letter. And then I'm going to skip the next one because that's the one I've done, and I'm going to show you at the end of the video a little clip of me colouring it in. So we'll skip C and we'll go straight on to D. So we've got lots of, as I said, foliage, leaves, ferns, plants, flowers, insects, things like mushrooms. There's a snake here. We have lots of different florals, and it's all very clean. Probably with her being a surface pattern illustrator, I should imagine she does her work on a tablet, and you can definitely tell that. There was nothing hand-drawn about this. Obviously the different elements have been composed in a certain way around the shape, but it's definitely a digital drawing. You can tell because the lines are so crisp, clean, perfect. The line widths are consistent absolutely everywhere. So it's definitely been digitally drawn, but that does not detriment from the talent that it takes to create something like this at all. So we're on to F, and I'm just going to go through these. You know, I'm not going to stick on every single one, otherwise we'll be here all day. But you can see the gist of the book. We've got birds, We've got, like I said, moths and butterflies, different flowers. There's a couple of swallows here. And on eye, again, this is kind of like a nighttime one, I think. I feel like this is one of those flowers that only blooms at nighttime. You've got the moon and you've got the moth. And little hidden ants and things. And they're all quite similar, you know, obviously in the pattern and things like that. They're not the same, but if you were going to do this sort of, say you wanted to decorate your baby's nursery and you've got 2 or 3 kids and you wanted to do a letter each for them, they're all going to go together really, really well because they're not completely different subject matters on each one of the letters. They all are really cohesive. So this one's great, this M, because it's like a mushroom menagerie just growing out of the M here. That was really good alliteration, wasn't it? And then we've got N and O. Love the big butterfly here. We've got P. And the Q has the snakes in here as well. Very similar to Millie's work, Millie Marotta's work. Not in the sense of the style or the subject matter, because we know, as I said, Millie Marotta's work is lots of different sections and animals, whereas this is definitely, you can tell it's been made by a pattern designer. You can tell it's like you'd buy a cushion with this on it, you know, from like a high-end department store. But I think the similarities are definitely there. Maybe it's because they've had the same publisher and I'm just used to this paper, this size of book and this kind of line width. I think they share the same line width as well. So we've got U, V, W, X. What names begin with X that you could do this for? Because the first thing I think of is somebody's name, obviously, somebody's initial, and who would I colour it for? And that's why I've done the C, because I thought I'm just going to do one for Claire, just to see if I want to put it up in my little colouring room. So this is the start of some of the punctuation. So we have the ampersands and we have the numbers. So it looks like we only have one punctuation then. I was under the impression there was more. Clearly not. So we've got an and. So if you wanted to do, for example, Michael and Nicholas, you would have M and N and you could put the and in the middle. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3. Feel free to slow this down if you want, or pause. We've got 4, 5, 6. And these are different fonts as well, you can see here. You can choose which one you prefer. 7, 8, 9. You see what I mean about the little sections? It's so reminiscent of Millie's work. And that's the end. So obviously we have another flap here that you could colour in if you want. And it's again just a little bit more about Carol and her acknowledgements for the book. So there we go. It's a lovely book. It's something that I can imagine you would colour and gift. I can't see that you would colour all of these letters and leave them in the book. I feel like they are made to be displayed. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic source material for a gift. I will now show you the page that I have coloured. So I started off by choosing a colour palette from the Colour Cube, this one here, and I decided to do that because the illustration is really quite busy. It's a busy pattern and I didn't want to sort of make it even more busy to the eye by adding a ton of different colours and just giving it the rainbow effect. I wanted to keep it quite cohesive. So here I am just testing some pencils and I went with the second orange, which is the darker of the two. And I used Posca pencils and Derwent Chromaflow for this, mostly Chromaflow, a couple of Poscas. And I decided to use these because purely I haven't used them for a while. So I just decided to give them a go and see what I could do with a limited palette. Now, as you can see, if you look close up, the Posca pencils seemed to create a bit of a wax resist on the paper and it was clumping up, and I thought I'm going to use some pencil blending solution just to make it a bit smoother, and this was the result of all the leaves. So the pencil blending solution really helped. So here's me using that dark orange Doe and Chroma Flow. It's the Autumn Blaze colour. I can just see that on there. I didn't write my colours down, never do. And then the blues, and I'm using the paper stump rather than the paintbrush to apply the blending solution, and it worked really well. So the paper does have a light texture, but I would say it's definitely on the smoother side. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed just seeing me doing a little bit of colouring and the colour selection process for this project. Again, link in the description if you would like to buy yourself a copy of this book. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, do let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time on Colour with Claire.